Greetings and salutations, YouTube. We're back here again doing another nerd report. And today's news has come across the desk. And the question that I have to ask is, can you uncarrier the uncarrier? Well, before we get into it, hit like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and also stay for the story. So, this one is coming from our beloved partners from Phone Arena, and they asked the question, or put out a statement more than anything, of for the first time in years, T-Mobile is vulnerable, and this is what Verizon new CEO should do. I'm going to presume that maybe Verizon does not need to go the uncarrier route to dethrone T-Mobile, because this moniker that's been floating around, a lot of the commentary is T-Mobile labeled themselves as quote unquote the uncarrier, right? It was to be disruptive. It was to show that, hey, we're not like everybody else, that we are trailblazers, and we're people friendly. And I found that to be kind of funny. You know, you're gonna name yourself something that you're not, but you really are, and it was cute. You know what I mean? And they made a lot of headwinds and rippled a lot of waves. But then, when it's time to be an adult, they had to do adult things. Grow up. But everybody that does and watches how the carriers move, Verizon and AT&T, even T-Mobile, everybody's like, oh, this is T-Mobile can't be the uncarrier no more. I equate the whole uncarrier like Burger King. You didn't see Wendy's and McDonald's to go out to try to figure out how they can put a crown on their head. Burger King's the only one that lets you get a crown to stick on your own head. I don't see the whole purpose of trying to chase what somebody else's identity is. Create your own identity, that way that people can gravitate towards you. And one of the biggest things about T-Mobile right now is their identity is that they are the more consumer-friendly facing carrier right now. But, people over at Phone Arena, they are trying to say that Verizon has a chance to enact new changes with a new CEO coming in. I don't know if that's going to end up happening. From Verizon's DNA, it takes a lot for them to move. During the 3G, 4G side, they were dead set on not buying no spectrum. And it took them until they got smacked in the face in the end of 4G into 5G to finally turn that ship. So I don't know if that's going to be something that they're going to be able to turn their ship around when they have been seen as the more prestigious carrier of all three. AT&T is the oldest. Verizon has been more the bougiest, and T-Mobile has been perceived to be the consumer-friendliest, quote-unquote cheapest. That's kind of how the mindset of what people look at. And you could tell by the way they're moving. Like, one of the biggest things that I think that is probably rubbing a lot of people the wrong way with T-Mobile is that they're doing away with the stores. They're downsizing so much that they're trying to get rid of their storefronts to be as nimble and agile as possible. That's a strategy of theirs. Depends on how you look at it. For me, if it continues to give me a little bit better deal, yeah, I mean, a lot of stores or a lot of companies are getting rid of their storefronts. That's pretty much what's going to happen. And I don't think they're going to get rid of all their storefronts, but they're going to get rid of enough that they don't need to have one at every block anymore. That's kind of stupid. Right now, Verizon and AT&T benefit from, scale. They've been around a lot longer. They have way more customers than T-Mobile does. regardless of how you want to look at it, yes, T-Mobile's probably perceived to be in second place, but really, if you're counting all their customers, we're talking about business and consumer, T-Mobile's probably still third. They're now just now starting to ink out their own living when it comes to their business side. But having a new CEO is not going to drastically change the direction that Verizon needs to go in to undercut their competitor, because I don't see that in their DNA. They're going to have to recode their whole DNA to take on their competitor, and they've been of the two that was left, basically Verizon and AT&T. AT&T's been one that's actually been very flat-footed when it came to presenting themselves to the competition. It seems like they're caught off guard by things that T-Mobile does. They seem to be taken aback. They seem to be very shocked that they can say certain things when, you pretty much have to have commercial viability to be able to say it. Somebody else has to have to report to say, hey, you can say this, and now you can say it. To be able to feel offended that now T-Mobile can say that they have the best 5G network. Well, show your 5G network. That's kind of how I look at it. Don't say, hey, we have the best network, but we've already moved on. Best network, what? You have the best 4G network? Or are you just saying that, hey, when it comes to cellular prowess, we are the best when it comes to cell phone capabilities? That doesn't roll off the tongue very well, and nobody's gonna find that very sexy. But when T-Mobile says 5G, baby, let's go, people are gonna gravitate towards that. But right now, it's basically saying Verizon has performed poorly compared to T-Mobile, AT&T. I do agree with that. They don't seem to have a direction that they need to head in. Hans did not give them a better direction. When the merger happened in 2020, I felt like that Verizon was the one that was more flat-footed. They were looking to continue business as usual and proceed as business as usual, but they seem to be more taken aback by what's going on around them. So further along in this article, it's bigger little snippets, but right here it says, this is a big moment for Verizon. This is what the carrier needs to do now. Now, when you read on into this, basically they start focusing on subscriber growth. Well, the thing is people were leaving your Verizon company because you were too expensive. It's about value adding. I use my cell phone bills as an example. I have all three carriers. Verizon is the only carrier that I have that's gone up more per the bill than even AT&T. AT&T is the least. They took away features, but they only went up by, I would say, what, $10, probably a little bit. T-Mobile, because I have multiple lines underneath T-Mobile, overall my T-Mobile bill probably went up like $5, but Verizon went up almost $15. So Verizon went up more than the other carriers combined. And this is something that I don't see how that's going to happen when people were leaving you because you're too expensive, or they're not getting as much bang for their buck. So I don't see how they're going to end up unseating the uncarrier if what they've been doing is trying to figure out how to raise their prices even more. But even further in, they were saying more along the lines of, you need to cut prices. I don't see that happening, because they were the leader in raising prices. When Verizon raised theirs, AT&T turned around and raised theirs, and it took about 2 price increases before T-Mobile raised theirs. So I don't see how that's going to end up helping them as much. Um, Cutting prices is one. Now, this is the one that, like in this article here, and I'm gonna leave this in the description below. But basically, the differences between what's happening right now and what Verizon they're saying that Verizon should not do is they should keep their stores around. Now, when your competitor is trying to be as nimble and agile as it possibly can, I don't know how long Verizon and AT&T are going to be able to uphold that, because T-Mobile's goal is to be quick and expedient across the board, and getting rid of as many stores as they can is the best way for them to do it, because it's about overhead. How much overhead are you having for the amount of money you're trying to bring in? So you're cutting stores. I'm sorry, but from a business standpoint, stores, especially stores in the city, are going to go away. It's going to be maybe one or two flagship stores per city, and people could take the metro to go to that. You're not going to see a T-Mobile at every corner that you saw 5, 6, 7 years ago, because T-Mobile was relocated only to the city. Now that they have access to the whole nation, they gotta put a store now in every one of these little mom and pop store shops across the nation. That they have to change their whole approach. So, can Verizon and AT&T compete with a T-Mobile that's trying to be agile and moving quickly? And plus, on top of that, if you can do a lot of their things from an app, like get a line, pay for a line, and start your service from the app, that's going to go a long way compared to your competitor, where you got to go in and talk to somebody, and they got to hold your hand and different things like that. The newer generation of people are going to be more inclined to doing things over the computer, in comparison to boomers that are more inclined to say, hey, look, I need somebody to help me with my service. And I see a Verizon and AT&T still clinging to more of the boomer side, where T-Mobile is going after the younger crowd. So there's going to be a lot of little things, and I'm probably glossing over some other stuff and missing some other things. And let me know down in the description below what I'm missing. But overall, I don't see, there should be no reason to try to uncarrier the uncarrier. It seems kind of stupid to even think about it, because this is something that T-Mobile named themselves, this moniker. But Verizon and AT&T have bigger problems when it comes to competition. The competition is real now. There's the presenting themselves to the consumer is different. Verizon people were leaving your company because you were too expensive. You were not giving them the bang for their buck. That's basically what it comes down to. You need to give them bang for their buck. AT&T, the same exact way. Taking features away from somebody because now you go, ooh, this feature seems to be good. Then you're not going to really know the difference, but who cares? Let me take this away, but not raise your price up. That's close, but no cigar. And T-Mobile has their flaws. Don't sit here and think that I'm going to sugarcoat for them. But for the most part, yeah, people losing their jobs because of an app is going to be bad also. But all companies are letting people go when it comes to being as nimble and agile as you possibly can be. Like, I'm a Uber driver. Guess what? I see the self-driving cars around me. You think I'm going to be waiting around for the apocalypse? No. But at the end of the day, what do you think? I'm curious to see how and what people view these viewpoints as. And read the article, go through, then comment below on my video and tell me what you think. But I'm curious. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I'm waiting to see what y'all have to say. Thank y'all and have a good one.